You're listening to Around Comics. 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 You're listening to Around Comics.
From Chicago, this is Around Comics, the comic culture podcast, where we talk about everything in and around the world of comics and comics culture. I'm your host, Christopher Niesman. I'm joined, as always, by my partner in crime, Mr. Brian Salazar.
What's going on, Christopher Niesman?
There he is.
How are you, sir?
You've read lots of comics this week.
I know. I went to a comic book store again.
Whoa. Did they start to know you by name?
Not yet.
No.
Well, it's hard when you have a mask on, It's like
True. That's good. Always wear your mask.
Oh yeah.
Whenever you
I
leave
always
the
feel
house.
weird, because I wait till I get to the door to put on my mask, I'm like, I carry it, I have it in my pocket, and I'm I
Yep.
wait. But you see people coming out, and you're that 1 second of you're not wearing your mask and they are, you can almost feel it's like, ah.
Like the sphincter gets really tight for a second.
Yeah.
But I always wear mine. It's actually went to my comic shop around the corner here, the fine people at Collector's Edge here in Milwaukee. Now you said you had a shop in your neighborhood that is now under new management.
Yeah, well, there's two shops that I grew up going to that are pretty close to me. The one is the same guy's been running it since forever, and it's a very typical. I mean, the shop has not changed since the 80s. It literally is the same shop I was going to when I was 12 years old.
Picture a 1980s comic book shop that hasn't changed in 30 years, and that is that shop.
And it's fine. He's a good guy, he's a nice guy, and it's a great place to go if you are trying to find some, dig through some Bronze Age, stuff, or he's got, a good collection of Silver Age stuff that you can get, and or just packages of 90s miniseries, and stuff like that. If you're looking for that kind of stuff, he's the guy to go to.
Yeah. If you need some Micronauts, that's the place to go.
Exactly. Yeah. Or what did I grab?
Actually, missing insectoids issue.
If you're looking for that kind of stuff, that he's the guy to go to. But it's a cramped, small little shop, and it is what it is. It's it just is that kind of store. So it's not the most comfortable store, but it's fun. It's fine, and he's a nice guy. But the other shop is a great location, and it's a big shop, and it's emptier than it should be, and it's messier than it should be. And it's just it could be an awesome comic book store, but it's an okay comic book store. And I'm hoping that with the new management that they're gonna make it a better one, but we'll see. But
challenge them.
Hey, it's not my store. I don't, whatever. I'll get what I get there, and
So I believe we are going to be joined by Tom. Is that correct?
I don't know if we are or not. Honestly, he just texted and said that he's having internet problems. His internet is out, and he tried to use his neighbors, and apparently theirs is out as well. So I'm not sure we're getting Tom tonight.
Why do I have this image of Tom going over to his neighbor's house, going, I've got to do a podcast. Give me your Wi-Fi key.
Can I borrow a cup of internet?
That would be.
He's just sneaking over there with a Cat 5 cable and plugging it into their modem.
Nice. Well, tell you what, I read a bunch of stuff. I think you did as well. You just want to kind of jump into what we've been reading and watching and listening to over the last week or so.
Absolutely.
All right. I like it. Why don't you kick things off? It's is this Days of Future Stacks? Do you have a stinger for me?
Days of Future. No, it's not Days of Future Stacks. I don't have anything. I don't have a Future Stacks. I don't think I do. I have. Is that we have top? I have a top of the stack. I don't have a stinger.
Yeah.
Top of the stack. But I never actually did an intro for that. So no.
It's top of the stack.
It's top of the stack. My top of the stack this week is a book called Paul is Dead.
Oh, neat.
An Image graphic novel. It is by Paolo Barron and Ernesto Carbonetti, who I don't know anything about either one of them.
Okay.
It's a graphic novel. I don't think it ever came out in any other format, and it came out this year. It came out in like April from Image.
This makes me mad that you've read this and I haven't, because you're an Elvis guy and I'm a Beatles guy.
I know. Well, that was the interesting thing. Like and that's sort of what I want to preface this with is I am not really. I would not consider myself a Beatles guy. Like
you are not.
No, I did not grow up liking the Beatles. I didn't have baby.
You're a Johnny Cash guy.
I'm a Johnny Cash guy for sure. Elvis guy, and then Zeppelin and that kind of stuff. But my parents didn't listen to the Beatles. My sisters were too young for the Beatles. My parents were too old for the Beatles. Your parents were probably right in that baby boomer sort of era. They grew up with it. So I didn't like the Beatles when I was young. I
saw my dad cry twice in my youth. Once when his father passed away, and the second time I ever saw my dad cry was the day that John Lennon was assassinated.
So
I
don't have
story.
Yeah, I did go to see Beatlemania though when I was a kid because my best friend growing up, Robert, was a kid that I grew up with, and his parents were like prototypical baby boomers. They went from like hippies to yuppies. Like I saw it happen. Like when I met him, they were living in a commune. And then like by the time I was sort of done hanging out with them, they were very
Chicago townhouse.
Yeah. So but they were huge Beatles fans, and he was a huge Beatles fan, and so they took me to see Beatlemania once when it was. Do you remember Beatlemania? Yeah. So that was kind of
that would go around. I grew up in I grew up in a very rural part of Illinois, and even in rural southern Illinois, Beatlemania would come around to the area civic center from time to time, and they were playing the like Merv or what was the their American debut. They were playing the Ed Sullivan stuff. I mean, it was definitely the Mop Top.
The one I saw was multiple versions.
Okay.
So they had multiple bands doing different eras.
So they would do the Ed Sullivan stuff, and then the Sgt. Pepper's, and Magical Mystery, and then the Abbey Road era. Okay.
So I did not like the Beatles. I was not a Beatles fan. But as I've gotten older, I've become much more of a Beatles fan. But that being said, I don't really know that much of the history of the Beatles. I'm sort of learning, but I saw this book and I was like, you know what, it looked cool, and I'm like, this is I did enjoy. What was the book that came out a couple years back?
The Fifth Beatle.
The Fifth Beatle.
Fantastic.
Great. Yeah. So I'm like, I'll check this out, and I knew you would like to talk about this, or you probably dig it. But so anyway, this is
I'm angry I didn't know it was out there.
See, I gotcha. That's part of why I chose it too, just because I know you hadn't read it yet.
Like, look at this amazing Johnny Cash graphic novel that I've read.
Exactly. But this is really cool. It's basically the story is and once again, because of my lack of knowledge of what's real and what's not, I'm kind of guessing, and I'm sure I'll screw it up. But it's the period where the rumor was that Paul had gotten into a car accident and he died.
So Paul is dead. Yeah.
Paul is dead. And it became this, national story. And then it became a conspiracy theory that he had been replaced by a body double, a lookalike, essentially, in the Beatles. And that still lives on to today, which is
crazy and hilarious. Yes.
Yeah, it's insane. I mean, and that's the thing, like, I'm not even a Beatles fan, but I'm a more and more as I get older, I am a Paul McCartney fan. And the idea that, you could probably find someone that looks enough like him. You could find someone that maybe sounds like him. You could probably find someone that even plays instruments like him. But you're not finding anyone who is the absolute genius songwriter that Paul McCartney is, and that at the drop of a hat can pull, from nothing. Turn us, create a song that will, people will sing for the rest of their lives.
On a musical side note, just because he's one of my also greatest music idols, McCartney and Elvis Costello worked with each other on Costello's Spike album. If you remember the song Veronica, McCartney co-wrote some of that stuff, and McCartney said that working with Elvis Costello was the closest experience that he had since working with John Lennon, which I thought was pretty cool. So that's
But so this is basically this. The story starts almost immediately after after Paul dies in a car crash, and it's
so it's an alternate history.
It's an alternate history story, and it takes liberties with what and a lot of it is from John's perspective. Most of the stories, and it's not a real big story, but most of the story is from John's perspective and him dealing with it, and then. It starts off basically with him being told from Brian Epstein that Paul is dead. And that it's not a hoax, that he really did die, and that they have to cover it up because they're worried that thousands of young kids might kill themselves or harm themselves because of it.
They were that big.
Right. Yeah. So and it goes from there, and I don't want to ruin the story because it, not that there's a huge thing in it, but it is a really fun, alternate fictional story about this, and it's done in a really cool way. There's a part where basically John and Ringo and George get in a car and go and become like a Scooby-Doo gang, and they're trying to investigate. And it's not long. It's just this is one little section of it where they become private investigators. They're trying to figure out what happened to Paul, if he really is dead. And it's really kind of cool. And it, like I said, it's a fun little read, and I think any Beatles fan would probably like it. And obviously it takes a lot of liberties. There's a lot of conversation.
Oh, you don't say.
Yeah, of course, but and what the couple of things that I really liked about it was, he does use some song lyrics in it once or twice, but it's pretty light-handed, because a lot of times I think you get in graphic novels about musicians that they tend to overuse that. They tend to sort of do it too much, and he does it a little bit. The other thing is the art in it is really cool. It's kind of a watercolor style, but very
a painted style.
It's a painted style. And then he uses white, almost like scratch board on top of it to give it a little more depth and perspective. But it's interesting because it's a dark watercolor, or I don't even know if it's watercolor. It's probably not real watercolor. It's probably Photoshop, or I don't know what, but it's a very vivid. You can kind of see the vividness of the color.
Okay.
It's not a light watercolor kind of wash. It's very, and he does some interesting things. I mean, the likenesses are really good. Some of the things I really like is, he doesn't use very many panel borders. It's usually kind of the paint, where the paint goes, and he doesn't use much. So it gives it a very
open, airy,
fantasy sort of feel to it. I think it worked really well with the color, and especially as it goes on, because this was a period of time when it happened, it was right when they were working on Sgt. Pepper's, I believe, from what the books.
So
they're experimenting.
You play a day in the life. If you play a day in the life backwards, it would say Paul was dead, right?
Yeah, all that stuff that came out afterwards, but it also kind of deals with, and I don't know how true or not true this is, but it kind of deals with sort of the conflict in the band that maybe was going on at that time between Paul and John, where John wanted to be a lot more experimental than Paul probably did, or maybe did. Or at least that's kind of how it's presented here.
Probably pretty true.
Yeah, and it may be true. I mean, I don't know. It could be, certainly. But ultimately, it really shows John's love for Paul and how close they were as a band, and all this kind of thing. But it was a fun read. I mean, it was really cool, and it.
That's the whole kind of joke of the cover of Abbey Road, right?
Well, because he has no shoes on, and
it's
he's out of step with them. Yeah. I mean, I know a little bit, enough to sort of, pretend I'm a Beatles fan, but not enough to.
Yeah. So the whole concept of Abbey Road is that John is the preacher, and then Ringo is the pallbearer.
That's one theory.
Or that yeah, and then Paul is dead. He's the dead man with no shoes, and he's got a cigarette, and then George is the gravedigger.
Okay.
So that's the whole Abbey Road kind of idea, is playing on the Paul is dead thing.
I think one of the other reasons I liked it so much was that it also, like, I've found myself being a fan of like Sgt. Pepper's and Magical Mystery Tour. Like, those are two of my favorite Beatles albums.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I like that time period for them because I think it was sort of the bridge between them, as young performers, and then in between, before they got like really experimental. They started to be experimental, but they were still those four kids from Liverpool.
Yeah.
And that was still present in those albums, where once you get to the White Album, it's like,
it was kind of snowballing at that point. If you kind of like that in between the hit makers and the experimental, you would like Beatles for Sale, Rubber Soul, and Revolver. Those are the three records.
They're all great albums for sure. But I think
then they roll into Sgt. Pepper's, and that's kind of where I think Sgt. Pepper's is the one where, I mean, they're not touring anymore. They're only doing stuff in studio. They're really pushing things to the pushing the envelope for what they can do with studio production. That was the record. I think Sgt. Pepper's, I think that broke Brian Wilson, because the Beach Boys had just released Pet Sounds, and I think that Brian Wilson had this competition between the two bands, and
they had said like Pet Sounds was what made them do the White Album, wasn't it?
Brian Wilson comes out with, the Beach Boys come out with Pet Sounds, and then like a month or 2 months later, the Beatles released Sgt. Pepper's, and I think that I think it kind of broke Wilson, because he's just like, okay, I'm not going to catch them with the group of people that I'm working with. He
needed Charlie Manson. That was the problem. He should have got Charles Manson involved.
Exactly.
I had to point out this comment.
Rick O'Brien.
Yeah, that's my nephew. He's. So I had to bring him up there, and that's my nephew.
Yes, Pick. It's all about conspiracies.
Yes, we've had plenty of arguments about conspiracy theories in our lives, the two of us. But
a good conspiracy theory. It's a OGN from Image. You said
it's an OGN from Image.
I will be ordering this.
Yeah, it came out in April. You can get it on Amazon, or I think I got it from In Stock Trades, but it was really good. I mean, it's like I said, it's a fun little book. The art is really great. I think it was translated. I think originally it was Italian.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think it's been translated. I think they said that in the beginning, that it was translated to English. So I think it came out originally.
That's funny.
And maybe it was just republished in English through Image, which is why it's an OGN, because it probably came out as an OGN originally. In I think it was Italy. I want to say these guys are Italian. Paolo Baron and Ernesto Carbonetti. Sounds a little Italian. I'm just guessing. I don't want to,
either that or Southside Chicago.
That could be, yeah. But it was fun. I mean, and they did some really interesting things artistically, I thought. Color wise, a lot of use of colors to sort of like amplify emotions and that kind of thing, and just
it looks beautiful.
Yeah, it's real pretty. I mean, there's a lot of different.
I mean, it was oversized. Yeah.
No, it's actually small.
Is it
actually?
okay.
I wish it was oversized. If they come out with an oversized, it's actually smaller than
a regular trade.
Yeah, you can see, like, it's the same width.
Is that your history of the DC universe?
It is. Yeah,
that's hilarious. You have that too. Everybody got that, I guess, huh?
Okay. It's a little shorter.
Okay,
it's the same width, but it's a little shorter. So
gotcha.
Yeah.
Have you been reading history of the DC universe?
No, I actually just picked those up. That was at the shop that I went to. It was like,
really? Those things are like 30 years old.
They were like cover price. They were sitting there, and I'm like,
oh yeah. I mean, they made a billion of them.
Yeah,
because everybody needed to know what was going on.
You know, it's funny. I was talking to the guy. So I've known this guy since I was like 10 years old, and same guy. He's been running the shop, and I was talking to him, and I've bought some comics from him, but he used to carry some original art. And we were talking about original art a little bit. He's like, yeah, he's like, it killed me. I stopped. He's like, when I stopped selling original art is because he had the first page.
You're gonna kill me, aren't you?
Well, he had one of the original pages, like one of George Perez's first works. It was like the Hands of Kung Fu or something.
Yeah.
And he had a piece on his wall for, he said, about a year. It was sitting up there for $10. And a guy came in, and he's like, one of his regular customers came in, and he's like, that's been sitting up there for a while. Would you take $8? He's like, yeah, okay. So he sold an original George Perez piece for $8. And he's like, after that, I was kind of done with original art, but he does have some. He actually had something at the shop that he's like, oh, here, take a look at these. And he had some animation cells from Hanna-Barbera in the 80s. And one of them, I think, is a Toth. But it doesn't say Toth.
Get it.
Yeah. Well, here's the
Get it. Send it to me.
It could be, but it could also just be because he did the character sheets that it's just a production cell.
Don't care. Get it. Because it is if it is a Toth, you've got two markets to sell it in.
If it's a Toth, I'm not selling it.
Yeah, I mean, my birthday's in March.
Yeah, you're not getting it.
You're evil. You're evil, sir. All right, I'm going to talk about one that I don't think that you have read, and then we'll talk about one that I think that we both wrote. What is this from your nephew?
He's saying Charles Manson was in MK Ultra. That's all. That actually might be true because I'm reading a book now called Chaos, which is a book all about how Charles Manson and them may have been in the MK Ultra, and that's actually what started like the killing. It wasn't what Bugliosa, like it wasn't the White Album. It wasn't that. I don't know. I haven't read the book all the way. I'm like in chapter 2, so I don't know. But I know that's definitely part of it. Is that he was in MK Ultra.
Well, since we're taking comments from apparently just your relatives tonight, let's remind folks that they can get in touch with the show. First of all, I want to say that we do release this both as a video and an audio podcast. So if you don't have time to plunk down in front of your tablet or computer and watch two middle-aged doughy white men talk about comics, you can. I'm not as doughy. I started running 2 weeks ago. I'm up to almost 3 miles a day running. So I got to get rid of my quarantine 15. So, slightly doughy white men talking about comics. You can listen to the show as a podcast, maybe while you're running and getting rid of your quarantine 15. If you want to,
be quarantine 19?
Huh?
Shouldn't it be quarantine 19?
I think mine's quarantine like 25, unfortunately. So it's it's gotta cut back on the beer consumption and up the miles per day. But you can contact the show, Sal. How?
You can contact us at info@aroundcomics.com. If you want to send us an email, you can tweet us at aroundcomics. You can get us on Instagram at aroundcomics. We have a website, www.aroundcomics.com. We're on facebook.com/aroundcomicspodcast or facebook.com/groups.
And we live stream the show on YouTube for the video side. So
YouTube,
you can
Facebook, Twitter, on Periscope. Yep.
So you can send in comments and questions throughout the show, which chances are we will respond back to you. Send us all of your conspiracy theories, and we will chime in on them. Now, I want to talk about one of the comics I read this week. I went to my local comic purveyor, and I picked up Osiris Path.
Osiris Path.
The Osiris Path.
Where's that from?
It is from Behemoth. It's going to be a what is the Tarantino movie? The Behemoth.
Behemoth.
Behemoth. Is that from what is it? Reservoir Dogs? It's Behemoth Publishers. It's from, let me give you the Christian Moran with interior art and color by Walt Barna. And then a bunch of other folks, Justin Greenwood on the cover art. So the Osiris Path. First of all, I really liked it. Picked it up, looked at I did the stereotypical comic book fan. It's like, okay, it's a #1 issue. Let me flip through it. Oh, it looks really pretty. Okay, yeah, I'll grab that. It kind of reminded me of Letter 44 in the story a little bit, just in that it's super top secret government operation. It actually takes place before the Apollo missions. Actually, this takes place in the 1980s, but the mission on the moon actually started before the Apollo missions, and they actually make a joke that they were there 2 years before Apollo 11. And they said, yeah, the best joke was us going up to the ridge and waving at Aldrin and Armstrong. That really freaked the shit out of them. But it's about this mission that's been on the moon since the mid 60s. This takes place in 1980, and there's an archaeologist that is kind of whisked away, thrown on a rocket, and taken up to the moon. And it's to investigate this huge artifact that they found on the moon. And apparently there is another counter agency that is trying to figure this out as well. So there's like this weird war going on the dark side of the moon. And for a first, it really good first issue as far as giving you all of the hooks that you want to come back and find out what's going on. It's a really pretty book. The Osiris Path, which something.
Who the hell is Behemoth Comics?
Huh?
I never even heard of them.
Yeah, me neither. And I was just like, okay, nice, well designed cover, which kind of, pretty phallic, I guess. Now that I look at it, but it grabbed my attention, and I'll show you a page or two. Let me get something kind of cool looking.
Behemoth.
Behemoth. It's cool. Definitely. I mean, it's definitely it's professional work. Is the way I would.
Professional.
Yeah. So the Osiris Path. It's one of those that I'll probably end up missing an issue or two on because I don't have a pull list, and I'll end up getting the trade. But this first issue was it was really solid, and walked into it completely blind. I don't know anybody from the creative teams, but yeah, it's solid. I enjoyed the shit out of it.
Space, the final frontier. That's always fun, like I love that because that's the thing too. I keep trying to find stuff that isn't like what I normally or what I've been reading for 30 years because I'm kind of bored with what I've been reading for 30 years. Mm-hmm. And it's like I love finding stuff like this, and it's so cool now that there's so many more publishers and people just making comics all over the place this day and age, and you can find quality stuff. I guess it's just easier than ever for people to make comics, but
yeah,
there's just so much cool stuff out there now.
Yeah. So you would dig this. I mean, it's is it? I wouldn't call it really challenging. I would say that it has a really good premise to it, and it had enough of a hook that I want to come back and find out where it's going.
And you can buy it either digitally or in print on their website.
There you go.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah. I actually bought a couple comics digitally this week. I'm trying to get over my phobia of buying digital only comics. It feels like a little bit of a waste to me because I don't have that tactile comic to gather dust in my basement, afterwards.
Yeah, I know how you feel though. Like I've like, that's why I like trades more, because it's like, well, at least I have something, I can't, I mean, there's still single issues of stuff that I read, but it's like, I don't want to go and buy a single issue. I think that's why I like those freaking black labels. Because it's like, I'm not quite buying a single issue, but I am buying a single issue, like
some of them are, they've already pulled a fast one on us though, because this is black label.
Well, yeah, true.
Which it's like DC.
Well, but they changed that. Originally it wasn't, and then they changed it to black label.
And now it is.
And now it is.
I mean, it's like black label kind of their PG-13 label.
I think that's what I think that what happened was initially when black label came out, you still had Dan DiDio running DC, and then he left or was, whatever. And then they changed. I think they've changed what black label was supposed to be.
Okay.
I think it's almost like now it's a mixture of things. Yeah. Like kind of their adult line of stuff, which I'm fine with. I mean, that's cool. I've liked
like their Vertigo for superheroes kind of line.
Yeah. Kind of
is okay. I mean, there's a space for that. And this was awesome, by the way.
Oh yeah. Strange Adventures.
Have you read this yet?
I did.
It's maybe my favorite Mr. Terrific comic, just in how Tom is depicting him as a character. I thought it was awesome.
I'm very, obviously we know Tom.
Can't wait to talk to him about it.
Yeah, right. Know him pretty well, and it's always interesting to see what he's gonna do with these characters, because I think he has such an interesting perspective about it. But it's funny, like every time I read one of his books, I'm like, well, he's just fucking using himself as the main character again. Like he's just, you know what I mean? Like this is just him. I mean, it's like, okay, so now Adam Strange, he came back from fucking Afghanistan, and and it's like now he's questioning, like, did we do the right thing over there? And it's like, motherfucker, this guy has milked his fucking experience in the CIA.
Like, Tom, stop working your issues out in our comics.
Right? Exactly. No, don't stop. Because they're good comics. It's just
they are good comics.
I am just jealous because I have no trying times to write about. Like I have no like struggle mentally, or
remember that time whenever you were like starved to death and dehydrated in a desert, and
didn't happen, never happened,
where you had to like kill that animal and drink its blood to survive.
Yeah, that's the problem. I haven't struggled enough. I haven't suffered enough for my art, so that's why I have nothing to write about.
That's like this whole COVID thing. It's like people were, before this, they're like, may we live in interesting times. I'm like, fuck that. Interesting times suck. This is terrible.
Oh, so Pick has another question. Actually, I like this question, so I'm gonna pull it up here. Hold on a second. He says, so is there like a comic club where they send you a new comic a month, or do you got to get out to your local store? There probably is. I'm sure there are comic book like monthly boxes, surprise boxes, that exist out there now. I've seen a couple, but I've never signed up for one where you get. I don't trust somebody to like send me comics.
You're gonna get garbage.
Yeah, I think you're gonna get kind of crap. So you gotta find. You're better off going you're better off going to a store or like listening to podcasts and figuring out what kind of stuff you like. what I always tell people when they're first starting out reading comics, if they're looking to get into comics, is like, what kind of movies do you like? Like what genre, what style, what, name a few movies that you really like that you might want to read stories about. There's 10 comic books that are like that. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure you can find it. So yeah, you're always better off going into a comic book store and maybe asking, but that's hit or miss too, because you never know.
My suggestion would be, everyone's got a tablet these days. The Kindle store and Comixology have so many free first issues to read. Download a few free issues, or even, my God, free. I think the first 3 volumes of Star Wars are available on Kindle. The Jason Aaron Star Wars series. Just download them on Kindle, see what you like, and then go from there. And it's at some point by issue 2 or volume 3 or whatever, you'll hit a wall where they want you to start paying for it. And honestly, if you've enjoyed it to that point, pay for it. I mean, you're paying for entertainment.
Or like I use Hoopla Digital. In my library.
Go to your library. Oh my God!
Libraries have graphic novels now. If you have a library card, you can sign up for Hoopla Digital on hoopladigital.com. You put in your library information, and usually most libraries allow you to rent a certain amount of titles a month.
Yeah.
And there's a ton of comic books on Hoopla Digital, and new stuff, old stuff, all in between.
Yeah.
So that's a great resource too.
Going to your library you should do that anyway. Go support your local library and check out comics there. That's our Wauwatosa library here in Wisconsin is awesome. They've got a great comic section, and I check stuff out there all the time. That's where I got the Green Lantern Year One, the Gabriel Hardman and Karina Becco before, and then I bought it afterwards whenever we met at our book club or whatever it is. There you go, book club. We have a book club.
Do we?
Yes.
Should we start a book club?
We have a book club. We just finished Coffin Bound. So this one is
what's our next book
guard?
Oh yeah, the Old Guard. That's right.
Yes, come on, catch up, Sal. We have,
and that's on Hoopla.
Tell your nephew to go read the Old Guard Volume 1.
There you go. You can read that and talk along with us about it.
Prior to it launching on Netflix here in a couple weeks,
this is not surprising. He does say, "I've been kicked out of my library. A long story, LOL." Yeah, that doesn't shock me.
I can't help you, Pick.
No one can help Pick. Pick is his own creature.
I've been kicked out of my. Where the fuck you get kicked out of a library?
Oh, you'd be surprised. All right, I got a book. I got something to talk about.
Yep, your turn.
So our good friends. Well, not really. We don't know them, but they sent us
our good friends at TKO.
Our good friends at TKO Studios sent me a bunch of books, and I got around to reading them. And
I believe that if you too would like to get stuff from TKO, we have a 20% off.
We do. There it is.
Oh, there it is.
TKO, get 20% off at TKOpresents.com. At checkout, use the discount code AroundComicsPod20, and you get 20% off of any of the stuff in their store. And I would suggest this Sentient. Is it sentient or sentient?
Behemoth.
Is it Behemoth? Sentient. I'm going to say sentient because I like saying sentient.
Mm-hmm.
Ascension.
It's our old good friend, Mr. Jeff Lemire.
Yeah, Jeff Lemire. And
by the way, if you have a first printing, first issue of Sweet Tooth, go check the eBay prices on that bad boy.
All right, we're not a comic book collector club here. We're not like trying.
I'm just saying, if you want to finance the purchase of more comic books.
I probably do have one around.
I know it's going crazy, dude. It's going crazy.
Really?
Yes.
People are stupid.
I know.
I don't. Anyway. Yeah, it's Jeff Lemire and Gabriel Walta. Walta. I don't know how you Walta. Yeah, he of the Vision He did Vision with Tom King.
Oh, yeah, he's good.
Yeah, and the thing I was surprised about in some of these, so they sent me like 3 of these packaged things.
Mm-hmm.
They're pretty cool. And I thought this was like a hardcover in here, but it's actually a collection of single issues.
But they're oversized?
They're oversized.
That's cool.
And they're printed on like nice paper, like heavy paper. They're beautiful.
I really like that because I like collected editions, but
then it's in this like cool little slipcase.
But I really still love the single issue format. So that makes Chris happy.
Well, you could go to tkopresents.com and use the code AroundComicsPod20 and get yourself 20% off.
All right, I will, because I know you're not sending it up to me.
Fuck no. I have a couple others though. I don't know if I'm gonna read them all. This was really good though. I didn't know what to expect.
That's great.
Yeah, Jeff Lemire, terrific writer. This is a really I want to describe this as elegant. It is an elegant little short story.
How do you like his Descender?
I have not read it.
Okay.
So I have no.
I think you would dig it. It's him and Dustin Nguyen. It's really good. Okay. But it's a sci-fi outer space story. So that's why it made me think of that with Sentient.
But this wasn't. I wasn't sure what to expect going into it. And like the first issue, I got through the first issue. I was like, oh, okay, this is going to be this. And then I kind of got to the second issue. I'm like, oh, okay, now it's kind of be something different. And he just did a great job of sort of telling this little story. It's its own little sort of capsulized short story in 6 issues. There's nothing, I mean, you could certainly do more if you wanted to with it, but everything is in these 6 issues. You don't need anything more from it than what's in here. And it was not high concept really. The idea is basically there's about 10 years left of like sustainable life on the planet Earth. And so as we are trying to do,
like 2030.
Yeah. As we're trying to do, they're colonizing, other planets, and they have sent out initially they've sent out some people, mostly scientists and that kind of thing, to colonize another planet. And now they have this ship that they are sending out families to sort of build up the population of the colony off of Earth. But the problem is there's a faction of people that don't agree with it and think that they can't start the new colony without sort of burning it to the ground and getting rid of the old, government and no, sort of like nothing to do with the old ways kind of thing. So that's kind of the setup. And then you have this one ship and these families on it, and something goes horribly wrong, and that all kind of changes.
Okay.
I don't want to spoil it, because it's a good little story, so people should read it and enjoy it.
But it's how many issues?
It's 6 issues.
Okay.
The thing I like, Gabriel Walta, when I first saw his work in Vision with Tom King, I didn't love it. I didn't dislike it, but I didn't love it. But I've become more and more of a fan. And this, as I was saying, like, there is something about this oversized print edition that they sent. These issues are like really, really pretty. Like, they're just really nice to read.
They are not screwing around with their talent pool, by the way. I mean, for a publisher, I have not seen a publisher come on the scene with that much like A-level talent. I mean,
they have a bunch of really really great, writers and artists that are working on different stories for them. So yeah, there must be some money behind them. I don't really know much about them. And 100% like transparency. They sent us some books. They contacted us and was like, "Hey, would you like if we sent you some books?" you might want to.
And 100% transparency. Sal is the only one who has received said books.
Yeah, well,
you do all the work. It's fair. I'm not. It's good. I'm okay with that.
You're more than happy if you'd like to drive down here and pick some.
I'll drive down.
I'm not mailing them to you, so
it's I've been reading some of their stuff even before they contacted us.
Oh, there you go.
Just because I love Garth Ennis and Epting. So Sarah is it's if you like Garth Ennis World War II stories, can't go wrong.
Right.
It's badass.
Russian. I have that. I haven't read
II.
that yet, but I will get to that. But back to this before you keep fucking interrupting me. With your, making it all about you, Chris, because you didn't get sent any books. Anyway, it is really pretty, but there's like there's something about his art that is very simple, but the simplicity of his art, like underneath, there's some really complex form. Like his form building is really good. And his ability to put people in space and build a environment is really special.
Depth to it.
Yeah, I mean it just and because his art is sort of, I don't know, I'd call it almost subdued. It kind of gives me, like at this story especially, it kind of gives me a 2001 feel to it. Like there's a sort of, it's off kilter a little bit. I felt the same way with Vision. Like he was telling a story about, these very advanced, technologically advanced androids, but the art is sort of rough, or I don't want to say simple because it's not simple, but it's just, it's not over embellished. It's very efficient art. And there's something about it that is like weird, like when he does like technology and stuff and like these spacesuits and machines and stuff, there's something creepy about it because his art is like kind of organic. Drawing this, there was a couple of pieces.
When technology is organic, it's creepy.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah. And there was a couple of scenes in here where it reminded me a little bit of Frank Miller's Ronin, where sort of like organic technology.
Yeah, it's grimy technology.
Yeah, so there was a little bit of that in there, but I gotta say, like this format, I love.
Did you buy 2 of those absolutes?
No, I only have one. Actually, I don't even know if I have one absolute of that. I think I do. I don't know. I have the trade for sure. No, I know. Yeah, I have. Well, here it is. Here's the in the brand new in the box.
That's V for Vendetta.
Vendetta. It came in the other day, and I have one sitting on a shelf in the other room that I didn't realize when I. So we should come up with a contest to give this away or something.
We should.
It's brand new. It hasn't been. I think it's still in the plastic, right? I don't know if it is. Is there? I don't even know. Let's see.
You are hilarious.
Yeah, still in the plastic.
Nice. There you go.
100% brand new. Never been read. We'll figure out some kind of contest or something.
Yeah. When is it's 7th of November? Wait, when is the V for Vendetta thing?
Remember the
5th of November?
5th of November, something like that.
Yeah. Is that Guy Fawkes Day?
Yeah. Is that what they call it? I don't know.
It's Guy Fawkes Day. Yeah.
Sure.
I'm the next.
But so Sentient was really good. I mean, it was nominated for an Eisner. I can see why. It's a really compelling story. It's a simple story. It's a very, like I said, I want to call this book elegant. It's a simple, elegant, extremely well told. It's one of those comics where there is not a one panel or page that's
wasted.
Yeah, there's nothing wasted. It's not packed full.
That's nice, isn't it?
Yeah, it's. I mean, he's really a good storyteller, and the difference between like Lemire, like these two guys, Lemire and Walta, working on a story, and so many comics is like people, you see a lot of people in comics today writing comic books for one reason or another that don't really understand the medium and don't understand how to tell a story in the medium. This is not that. This is someone that absolutely has a mastery of the medium, both Lemire and Walta. Like, they know exactly what to put in a panel. They know exactly how many panels to put. They know how to use, you know, the medium so well, and it's really nice to see. Like, this was a really pretty, everything about it was really just perfectly done.
Really good comic.
It's a really, really good comic. Like, this is a really, really good comic.
And you know that. And you know, I was wrestling with this notion this week that, like, Around Comics version 1.0, I think we both got frustrated because we expect a lot from the medium. I mean, these are professionals. These are people that are supposed to be at the top of, you know, their game, top of the game in creating stuff. And whenever we see subpar work being praised, it was very frustrating to both of us. And there's, I think, kind of getting a little bit older and maybe a little bit wiser. I don't know if that's the case, but just kind of enjoying those moments when you really do find a really good comic and you're able to enjoy it. And it's maybe not about expecting everything to be great. And it's really just enjoying those moments whenever you find something like a Sentient. I had that experience this past week. Did you read Adventure Man #1?
Yes. Yeah, the
Matt Fraction and the Dodsons.
Yes.
Kind of that same feeling where it's like, okay, these are people that get it. They understand.
See, I didn't have that experience with that comic.
You didn't like that? I really like that for a first issue, just for the double page spread with the guy dropping the glass of water, and then you've got that huge battle scene with the Zeppelins, and then on the right side of that double page spread, you see the glass of water crashing to the ground. It was just that understanding of time.
Listen, the Dodsons are terrific artists.
I mean, I was just like, for that double page spread alone, that is understanding how comics work.
Yeah,
and I absolutely adored that. I like the story. I love the, you know, it definitely it smacked of the Alan Moore.
Tom Strong.
It's Tom Strong. I mean, it's a lot of Tom Strong, but I enjoyed it. And the Dodsons are so good at what they do.
The Dodsons are terrific. I thought it was written a little. It's when Fraction becomes too clever. You know, like he tries to be too clever.
I thought it backed the Fraction cleverness back a little bit, and it was more of the Fraction I like, which is kind of the wisecracking Fraction. It's sometimes he can get a little preachy. I didn't feel that quite as much as I felt in some of his other stuff. I just felt like this was a good, like, 1950s style action adventure, and then it switches gears into a modern, you know, it's what was the other Alan Moore series that, you know, took that, you know, the 50s, huh? Prometheus. Yeah, the 50s tropes and then, you know, goes into a modern era.
Maybe that's why I wasn't crazy about it, because I'm like, it's watered down Alan Moore.
Yeah, isn't everything watered down Alan Moore at this point?
No.
I enjoyed it. I thought what I really liked about it is that it felt very conscious about using the comics medium to tell the story.
Right.
And that's what I enjoyed about it.
Yeah, and that's something that you don't get a lot. You You don't get that everywhere for sure. I mean,
No.
there's so many comics that don't have any concept of that whatsoever. And
they kind of go through the motions.
Yeah. I mean, it's nice to see when you have artists and writers that understand what the medium can and can't be. There's another book that I read and this week, and I'm not going to mention the name of the book because I don't want to talk about something that I didn't enjoy. And it wasn't it wasn't bad.
Yeah,
like it wasn't terribly done. The art was really good, but it was a writer from another medium, television, and you could tell that. Like I could tell this person doesn't know how to write a comic book. They know how to write. They might know how to write a script, and they know how to write a story. But they really don't have any idea of how to write a comic book and how to tell a story in a comic book. It's a different thing. Like it is a different thing than writing a script for a movie or a television show. You just can't try and do these things.
Exactly what I was going to say about the comic that we mentioned before we started rolling tonight, Far Sector, which I enjoyed, and that's I have it here. And that is exactly what I felt about it, is that it read like a novel, and it's by a novelist. It's from DC's Young Animal. It's N.K. Jemisin, who's a Hugo Award-winning author. She's done multiple novels, is a revered sci-fi author, and I'm looking forward to reading some of her novelizations. And I didn't dislike Far Sector, but it reads like a sci-fi novel. It doesn't read like a comic book.
Yeah, and it's somebody that doesn't, you might be a great writer and you might be able to tell a great story, but if you don't know how comics work, it more often than not, to me, it's going to be a confusing story, or just
the artist can only carry it so far.
Yeah.
It's a great artist that's on this. It's gosh, who is it? Naomi. Or wait, no, that's the artist of Naomi. Jamal Campbell. You had basically a sci-fi novel writer and a really good artist. It's really kind of a if you like the Matteo Scalera from Black Science, you would like Far Sector. I'm gonna keep reading it, but it definitely reads like a sci-fi novel.
Don't pander to bad comics, man.
They're not bad comics. They're not bad comics, and that's kind of going back to my original statement, is that I got frustrated by comics that weren't amazing. And it's like not everything is going to be groundbreaking or push the boundaries of what the medium can do, and we get used to that. And it's about enjoying yourself. The comic fan is not getting upset by that. It's really finding joy when you find someone that does push the boundaries.
Yeah, but there's too many comics out there. I mean, like I'm not going to suffer through like mediocre comics just because.
Yeah.
Like, why?
Well, I wouldn't call it mediocre. I would say that it's not fully formed yet. It's
sounds kind of mediocre.
Here's a really good mediocre comic.
Really good. Wait. That's an oxymoron. A good mediocre comic.
Really good mediocre comic.
It's a fantastic average.
You read Dead Body Road?
I did not read it.
You like Elmore Leonard?
I love Elmore Leonard, but not necessarily as a comic book writer.
It's so this is the guy that did the Luther Strode stuff. It's Justin Jordan with the Strange Case of Luther Strode. Is that?
Yeah.
And Dead Body Road, he did another series with, actually, I think it was Matteo Scalera. This is with Benjamin Tiesma. It's criminal. It's basically them doing criminal. It's a drug deal gone bad kind of thing. He actually said his inspiration for this next volume of Dead Body Road was Justified, because he's a huge Elmore Leonard fan, and Winter's Bone, the movie that Jennifer Lawrence, as a younger teenager, got a Academy Award nomination. So it's rural, bad drug deal, kind of thing. It was good. I enjoyed it. Didn't push the bounds of what comics can do. It's just it felt like a really good episode of like Justified as a comic, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. No, I enjoyed it. It was good.
I just don't want to pay like $5 for that.
But three.
There's no $3 comics anymore, man.
$4. Much like the Osiris Path, I really look forward to reading the rest of this as a trade when it comes out. So that's what I do. I buy first issues, and if they're terrible, I forget about them. If they're good, I'm like, okay, I'll buy that as a trade later.
Maybe you should start a mystery box with those first issues, and
I could do that.
You could do a monthly mystery box to
people. A monthly mystery box, and maybe in that mystery box you'll get a V for Vendetta Absolute Edition.
There you go. If you sign up for our monthly mystery box, you're around comics. One lucky person will get a V for Vendetta.
I'm horrible. Never tell my wife that I did this. All right. So American Vampire is one of my favorite series of the last 10 years, right? Did you finish American Vampire?
I don't know if I did or not. How many volumes are there?
8.
Oh God, no. Then no. I haven't read 8 volumes of anything.
It's really good. It's really good. I love Raphael Albuquerque, and I think it's Scott Snyder's best work. I like it more than his Batman stuff. And so I'm such a dork. So I had the first 7 volumes of American Vampire. I mistakenly ordered the 8th volume as the trade paperback and not the hardcover. Oh. And so I've had 7 volumes and the trade paperback of the 8th volume sitting on my shelf for probably 3 years now. And so I finally ordered the hardcover of the 8th volume.
See, you could put the trade in the monthly,
So I have the volume 8 of American Vampire as a trade paperback that can go in our little prize pack.
There you go. Mm-hmm. We got to figure out a contest or something. I don't know how I don't know what would
I'd say whoever comes up with the concept of the contest is our first concept winner or contest winner.
That doesn't make sense. Come up with a contest?
Sal, it's 2020. Fucking nothing makes sense.
This is true. I've been reading Silver Age Green Lantern.
Also, does not make sense.
No, not a lot.
No, is he an insurance salesman?
No, he's not. He's a test pilot. Come on, this is the first volume. He's Al Jordan test pilot. But it is a lot of like. I'm not sure what's more important to him. Is it like going on a date with with the boss's daughter, or saving the world from some giant alien thing? No, I've never really thought about stories of existing characters before. Like I've never spent time like going, I'm gonna try and write a Green Lantern story or a Superman story or a Batman story. That kind of thing's never really like been in my head as much as I like to write stuff like that. But I do have an idea for like a Green Lantern story. So I wanted to go back and I wonder, I'm like, I don't know that I ever really read much of like the origin stuff of Green Lantern. I don't know that, it's like Green Lantern I was reading was in the 80s and like,
yeah.
And then
it's kind of one that most comic fans know, right? The whole Abin Sur.
Well, I think his origin
crap.
obviously has been retold over and over and over again, like everybody else's. But I'm talking about more like, okay, what happened after that? Everybody knows the origin story, but like what? And that's kind of like where I was thinking about telling a story from. Is like, okay, what happened? Like my idea is Green Lantern Year 2.
Okay,
you know what I mean? It's like what happened
back on the streets.
No. But so I've been reading.
You know that's what you're going to call it.
No, but it's they're not great comics. They're really between that and Justice. I've been
who was writing those?
Oh God, it's geez, I should know this. I have it pulled up here.
Is it Fox? Gardner Fox?
I don't think it's Gardner Fox. God damn it! I should really know this. Hold on, let me get to the beginning of this thing, and I will tell you.
Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, I'm just trying to think of that time frame.
Gil Kane.
Oh, okay.
Is penciling.
Yeah, which is gorgeous.
John Broome.
Broome. Okay.
Yeah, John Broome.
I mean, they weren't going out to challenge people at that point. They were writing for 10-year-olds.
Yeah, Gil Kane is on here. You got who else? I think he does the bulk of it. It looks like Gil Kane's the bulk of it. Which there's some really actually like cool art in some of it. Like
Gil Kane's awesome.
Yeah, that are just like, oh wow, that's really kind of cool. Like the way he did this or the way he did that. Some really interesting stuff. But Green Lantern's kind of lame looking, to be honest. It's just like the suit's not really,
form fitting.
Well, it's just an odd looking suit and the whole thing. Like I just read this and I go, who the fuck was reading this? These are not even like exciting.
No one. That's why they made him an insurance salesman.
Yeah, this is true.
Yeah.
But it's been kind of fun to go back and read some of this stuff to some degree. Like I laugh because of the whole yellow impurity thing. Like every issue, there's something yellow that fucks with them.
No. Oh.
What's gonna be yellow this issue? Like what's it gonna run into?
Oh, damn canaries.
Yeah. But it goes from like
not another school bus.
They're like yellow pterodactyl. There's a giant yellow pterodactyl in one issue. Like what?
It is the goofiest thing ever. Is that he was anything yellow would just screw with him.
Yeah. He couldn't affect anything yellow, and he would turn into just like a boxer. He would just like fight a pterodactyl with his fists because he had no other way to fight it because his ring was useless against the pterodactyl. He's just like punching a pterodactyl.
I so wish they had kept the whole yellow impurity thing in modern times. Like they finally did away with it. I don't know why, but it's ridiculous. I mean, it's such a Silver Age. Silver Age comics are ridiculous and awesome.
They really are. Like I said, between this and reading some Justice League, Silver Age Justice League, and I love that they have they have those collected editions.
Yeah,
the showcases, which were black and white, but they have the color ones now, which are really nice.
Mm-hmm. Well, you were talking about Fraction being clever. I love clever Fraction on the Jimmy Olsen, which is absolutely a love letter to the Silver Age, Superman's pal stuff.
Yeah, that's
Fraction at his best.
For sure. I think you're right. I think when Fraction tries to be Alan Moore, it doesn't work real well.
When Fraction tries to be Gardner Fox, it's great.
Perfect. When he's sort of simultaneously making fun of, but also, homaging the Silver Age, I think he does that really well.
Yeah. God, who wrote the Superman's pal stuff? It's was it Broome?
Might have been.
Where's
Tom? God damn it!
What's the Earth B? Was he the Earth B guy?
Was John Broome? Was it Earth B because of John?
There was an Earth B because he would just not play by any of the rules because anytime like a superhero that wasn't.
We talked about that last week. You and Tom were talking about that.
Yeah, I think it may have been Broome, and they're just like, whatever. Go, whatever you do is your thing.
Yeah,
that's your little playground. Yeah,
it is. The Justice League stuff is kind of funny because it's at least the initial issues. It's like, okay, the Justice League is this team, and then there's something that's out there that they need to stop. But then it's just like, okay, Flash, you go and stop this, and then it's just a Flash issue.
Yeah.
It's like, wait a minute. Like the first 3 issues are just individual stories of each member, and then
otherwise, Superman would just stop it.
Well, Superman's not even a part of it.
Yeah,
initially it's Aquaman, Martian Manhunter, Wonder Woman, Flash. I think that's it. Yeah, I think that's it. So he's not even. Yeah, Superman's not even involved because Well, I mean that's everything with Superman. You can't really do Superman. How do you even tell Superman stories anymore? He's just
Well, that was the whole burn. The whole 1986 depowering of Superman. It's moving him from being a planet mover to slightly depowered,
right?
Where you could write more interesting stories. He was not as invincible, do everything, but that's always been the problem with Superman. But
goddamn Superman,
fucking Superman.
Have you read any of the Jeff Lemire Joker Black Label Killer Smile?
I have. I've got to revisit it because I think it's finally all done now.
I think so. Well, the funny thing is, like, the same team did a one-shot kind of, I guess it was after that, the Batman, the Killer Smile, or the Smile Killer.
Okay.
Because the initial was Joker Killer Smile.
Mm-hmm.
And then they did
with Jock, right? Is it with Jock?
No, it's Andrea Sorrentino.
I think Jock did covers.
I don't think so.
I think that's a Jock cover.
This is not a Jock cover. This is Angela Sorrentino.
Okay.
Andrea Sorrentino. That's not Jock.
Check the cover.
I guarantee you this is not a Jock cover. Let's see. Andrea Sorrentino cover. Carrie Andrews did a variant cover.
Shit.
Why are you questioning me? This is not Jock. I believe me, not Jock. She has kind of a Jock style.
Yeah.
But it's not. Yeah, not Jock.
Okay.
No. But the rest of her art is very much the same as this cover. So that's. But anyway, so I bought
edition of Name the Artist.
I bought the Batman Smile Killer one, not knowing that it was a takeoff of the 3-issue Joker one. Like you kind of have to read it after. And I read it and it was like, oh, this is kind of interesting. And then I found out, oh, there's 3 other issues that kind of lead up to this, or at least are kind of part of it. So then I went back and bought the other 3, but I haven't read them yet. But this was actually really interesting. More Jeff Lemire stuff, and it's kind of a weird alternate reality story where Bruce Wayne is probably insane, maybe, and thinks he's Batman, but
you're not for sure.
You're not sure if he's Batman or not. And you're not sure if he's crazy. And you're not sure if the Joker has done this to him or not. But yeah, so it's kind of a weird tale of like, yeah, you don't know exactly what the reality is. And even like finishing it, I was still like, I'm not sure if this person is insane or they're actually Batman, and then what they believe is true. So it's kind of an interesting one-shot thing. And I do like Andrea Sorrentino's art. It is kind of jockish, but she does some really. I wanted to show you this 2-page spread in particular. Is really cool. Yeah, just like
that's got a lot of.
I know what you're going to say,
Williams.
That's exactly. Yeah, I thought the same thing. It's that very graphic sort of panel layout. thing. Yeah, definitely some Starman influence, maybe. But yeah, kind of a cool issue.
Yeah.
Yes.
Starman would have been Tony Harris.
Oh, that's who I was thinking, Tony Harris.
Yeah,
he does the same kind of thing.
Yeah, they were playing with panel layouts and the big flowing 2-page spreads, and it's where J.K. Williams more Promethea, and then Tony Harris was doing a lot of that in Starman. Which I'm going back, I'm reading those Starman Omnibuy again. It's really good stuff. Yeah.
Trying to get into Stargirl.
I love Stargirl. It's fun. I look forward to every Wednesday.
It is fun.
Are you keeping up with it?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not going to challenge you. It's fun.
No. Not everything.
It's like a pretty good but not great comic.
It's not mediocre. I don't know if it's a great mediocre TV show. It's great. I think you could probably sum up our podcasting career that way.
Exactly.
Terrific, mediocre.
Yeah. It's not Roots, but it's pretty good.
Even Sentient is not I wouldn't call it challenging in any way. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's not a challenging. And
that's the thing. It's my wife and I argue about this all the time because we're always arguing about what we should watch on TV. And it's like, I want to watch something that's going to challenge me and I'm going to get into. And she's looking for the exact opposite of that. She wants something that she absolutely does not have to think about. And so.
Well, when you say you want to be challenged, though, like how do you want to be challenged? Like, because I don't want to be challenged with a complex narrative that I have to try and figure out.
No, but I want to have to pay attention, right? So, where did I start?
Sometimes I think we confuse challenging with confused.
Basic comprehension.
No, I think we mistake challenging for poorly written. Sometimes I really think that, especially in comics. I think a lot of times we confuse those two things, and because we don't maybe understand something fully, or it lacks a clear story, we call it
Morrison conundrum, right? The great Grant Morrison conundrum.
Yeah,
it's like I can read All-Star Superman, and it's amazing, and then I can read another Grant Morrison comic, and I'm just like, I have no fucking idea what happened there. And does that mean that that's on me for not understanding it, or is it on him for not writing something that can be comprehended?
I think it's on him. I think making things confusing is a shitty. I mean, even if you're a great writer, if you can't tell a story clearly, then you've done a shitty job. And I think that's, I think that happens a lot. And I think a lot of times people confuse those two things of like, this is a challenging story because I don't quite understand it.
Yeah. So no, the difference with my wife and I is that, while I would rather watch something like Pennyworth, she'd be like, I want to watch like Below Deck.
Well, she just wants to turn off her brain and
yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That's what I'm talking about. So I want to watch something that is, an engaging story. She wants to be able to play, games on her tablet while the TV is on.
I only want to be challenged emotionally.
You are challenged emotionally.
Definitely. I am definitely emotionally challenged. For a long time, I thought I might have been a sociopath. I didn't think I had any emotions.
Could be. I watched a terrible movie this week. Speaking of bad stuff,
terrific.
Have you seen Terminal?
Terminal. I don't know.
Really good cast.
What's it about?
I don't know. It was terrible. Simon Pegg was in it, and Harley Quinn, Sharon Tate.
Yeah, I can't think of her name off the top of my head.
Yeah, it's obviously time to wrap up, but yeah, it was awful. Watch it. It was terrible.
No, I don't want to be challenged in that way.
It wanted to be so good, and it wanted to be really important, and it really wasn't. It stole an hour and a half from my life.
Why would you stick with it? You got nothing but time.
Yeah, Mike Myers was in it, and it was what is her name? My gosh, that's gonna
Margot Robbie.
Margot Robbie, yes. And she's actually the best part of it. And I was thinking about that. Margot Robbie has been good in some really bad movies.
Yeah, I think she's a really good actress. She's very talented.
Yeah. I mean, should we talk about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood again?
No, I think we've talked enough about it.
We've talked enough about
I think people are sick of listening to us talk about that.
But yeah, it's back Harley Quinn and the Birds of Prey. I thought she was good in that, but it wasn't necessarily a very good movie.
Well, I mean, it's a collaboration. You can only do what you're given. Like, what is she supposed to do? Like, she can only act her part of a movie. You can't expect.
No, but she's good. And I keep revisiting. So I re-upped my DC Universe subscription because Doom Patrol is back. And I started finishing up the Harley Quinn animated series, which is brilliantly funny.
It's very funny. It is very funny.
For King Shark alone, I will continue to watch that series.
Oh,
King Shark is awesome.
Well, you know who plays King Shark, right? Who voices King Shark?
No.
He's a comedian. Now I can't think of his name.
So good.
The funny thing, like, he is one of the few people. He is one of the few people on the internet that I am aware of that has blocked me on Twitter.
Nah!
I can't think of his name. I wish I could think of the comedian's name. I can't think of it now.
That makes this so much better.
Well, it's funny because, like, I was a fan of his stuff. Like, he's a really funny stand-up comedian.
Yeah.
And this was years ago. I was following him on Twitter, and he said something. I don't remember why. Ron Funches, that's his name. Ron Funches is the comedian, and he's a very sweet kind of guy, very funny. And he said something, and I made a dumb joke about it.
No, I'm sure.
And it was like I can't remember. It was something about a rapper, and the rapper's name was like, one of these not really a name, and like spelled sort of like. Yeah. And I made a dumb joke about the spelling of it, and for whatever reason, like, he
immediately
blocked me, and it's still to this day. I checked, like, I don't know, maybe 5 months ago. I'm like, I wonder if he still has me blocked. Yep, still has me blocked.
Still blocked.
Yeah, which is just kind of hilarious. I'm like, he's like the nicest guy. When you listen to him on stand, he's like the sweetest kind of stand-up comedian, and I pissed him off. I was able to.
That's funny. And that character, King Shark alone is worth watching Harley Quinn.
Oh yeah, the cast. They put together a really great, funny. That was the thing about the cast, is they put together a bunch of really talented, funny people to voice those. They're not just voice actors; they're all like comedians.
Yeah,
and comedic actors, and yeah, the cast is terrific.
It's so
that show.
So
I get a kick out of, like, so many of the little things in there that they play with that are just stupid, even, of just like Bane's coffee cup. It's like, I am this coffee's reckoning. Just the stupid, things that they put in there. And it's pretty funny. Me and the kids watch it.
It's so inside baseball.
Oh yeah, there's so much stuff that if you're not a DC, if you haven't been reading comics for a while, you may not get some of the stuff, but you don't need to.
So clever. It's on par with what we do in the shadows, as far as just the really quick, clever inside baseball stuff that it's just the offhand comment that you have to, almost like stop and pause, the stream, and it's like, holy shit, that was funny.
Yeah, there's, it's interesting. Like there are, there's been a handful of shows like that, and the guy that you can kind of point to, I don't know if he gets enough credit or if he should get the credit, but like Tony Hale, who is Dr. Psycho. He's the voice of Dr. Psycho.
Okay.
But he was also in Arrested Development. He's the one brother, I can't think of the idiot brother. Not Job, but the other idiot brother.
The other,
the kind of, and then he played in Veep. He played her assistant.
Oh, he's awesome.
Phenomenal. He's so funny.
He's been
in all three of those shows, and like those shows are all that way. Like it's so many jokes over and over and over again. It's like he has to be a part of that, because it's just like what you just said is perfect about every one of those shows. Like you have to kind of rewatch it because
subtle, brilliant. They're scalpel jokes. It's such a quick little slice that you're just like, oh my god, that is fucking hilarious.
I mean, there's so many funny things in and when I first started watching, I was a little bit like, oh Jesus. I mean, because it's so, like, I still don't think it needs
not the Timbers. You want Timbers, and
but he is involved, so that's the funny thing.
Yeah. It's. I mean, Ivy says something. It's the Queen of Fables, the bad guy who is. I mean, she's bad, and Ivy's just like, she was like, no, she's really evil, and Harley's like, well, I'm evil. She's like, no, you're like broadcast TV evil. She's like cable evil. And I was just like, okay, that's pretty funny.
Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff. And like I said, I think a lot of it is just the cast is so good. They have so many.
The writer's room on that has got to be so good.
Yeah. I mean, Funches, he's a stand-up comedian. Tony Hale is I think a brilliant comedic actor.
Yeah.
And it's fun. Like I would never think of putting him in the role of Dr. Psycho. Like it's such a weird, I don't know why, but and the guy who plays Clayface, I love what they've done with Clayface. Like
because every time they have a heist, he has to have a character with a backstory.
Yes. But it's so brilliant because it's like Clayface was an actor. That's how he, like that dude.
Yeah.
So to make him like this super dramatic thespian,
she worked on the docks.
Yeah. It's really funny. It's so good.
Yeah, the episode where he loses his hand and his hand turns into Jim Gordon's new friend because Gordon and Batman have had a falling out. I'm just like, I really should be smoking something to watch this episode because I know they were to come up with this.
Oh, for sure. It's very good. Like I said, I still don't know that it necessarily has to be as graphic as it is. I don't, because I don't think that actually is adding anything to it. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like I don't.
Yeah, but they've said the same thing about our podcast.
Okay, then I guess I can't argue.
He's like, oh, touche.
Yeah, it's not like I'm going to stop watching it. It's just like it's still weird to me, like to have, Poison Ivy say cunt. You know what I mean? Like it's just like whoa, geez,
dropping F-bombs.
And I watch Rick and Morty. Like that's one of my favorite shows of all time. Because then that's just filthy.
Is it that good?
Rick and Morty is, in my opinion, one of the best animated shows ever made.
Really?
It is so bizarre. Well, the first 2 seasons are absolutely amazing. The 3rd season is okay. This 4th season is really good. It is, you talk about a show that you have to pause and rewatch. Dude, it is machine gun jokes. Like it just never stops, and they never break kind of character. And it's very simple. I mean, it's simple in the sense of like the idea of it, the guy Justin Roiland who created it, the way it kind of got all started, he did like he was a voice actor guy and an animator, and he did like a video of I don't know if it was a class thing or it was just like his own like work. You know, he was just like B-rolling stuff, just try to, you know, and he had the idea of like, well, you know, what if you took Doc and Marty from
Back to the
Future, but made Doc sort of a like an alcoholic asshole and Marty kind of more of an idiot.
Yeah,
so
not a big stretch, by the way.
Yeah, and he made this cartoon called Rick and Morty, and it was really poorly drawn, and then Dan
it's like the first South Park comics.
Yeah. But the guy who saw it was the dude who did Community, Dan Harmon.
Oh, okay.
And he saw it, and he's like, this is brilliant, like this is genius. And then they started doing it together and producing it, and then it took, and Harmon is like, he is basically like a brilliant alcoholic. Like that is kind of what he is. Like he's a very deep thinking, but also like gratuitous alcoholic. So it's perfect for the show.
I know how this works.
Yeah. But so the show is pretty simple. Like Rick Sanchez is the Doc character, and he is the most brilliant man in the multiverse. And like so brilliant that he can build anything. Like he can bring people back. He can do anything. Like he's a god essentially, but he's also an alcoholic and like does shit just for like pleasure. But then Morty is his grandson, who he's sort of, you know, forced into going on adventures with him. But I can't even explain the show. It's so bizarre.
It's a rabbit hole I'm going to dive into.
It's so bizarre and twisted and weird, and you never know what an episode is going to be. Like, and you never are going to, like, you'll never guess where the episode is going. Like, they're so strange and like esoteric, and I mean, there's things in them that are just will literally make you rethink how you think about the universe. That's how insane. Wow. No, I'm not joking. Like, there are things that they do on that show where it's like, holy shit, like it will sort of make you re-examine your life and the universe. That's how crazy the show's insane. I can't explain it. It's brilliant. It's brilliant.
Dead, you've probably ruined me for the next month and a half.
I mean, as much as I love, like, you know, What You Do in the Shadows, which I think is hilarious, and I love that show. Like, Rick and Morty is just a different thing. Like, it is so unique and its own thing. Like, nothing else can quite be like Rick and Morty, and it's so gratuitous and over the top, and they know it. And they play with the medium, they play with the genre, they play with the audience, they play with their own like tropes. Like it's pretty amazing show.
It's self-aware.
Oh yeah. Oh, I mean, it is a, like I said, I don't even know how to explain this. I've never watched anything quite like it. I've never watched a show like Rick and Morty. It is so bizarre. I mean, you never know what like. It could be in the same episode. At one point, you're contemplating like God, and then you're also like grossed out because Morty has to eat a giant space worm to save the universe. Like that, you know, like it's you don't have any idea where the show's gonna go.
Nice.
Like, it's just bizarre. Yeah.
Nice.
And they also play with other things like comic book tropes and other storytelling tropes and that kind of thing.
Cool. All right, sir. Well, I think that's another wonderful week of comics.
Yeah.
I hope you are still surviving the apocalypse? Okay.
Yeah, just drinking too much.
Yeah, I'm cutting back. I'm trying to find other narcotics to
come to Illinois. They're legal now.
Yeah. I got friends in Illinois. We'll see. But I did start running. I think I told you that earlier. So trying to Getting curling shape, for a season that's not going to fucking happen because no one's wearing fucking face masks.
Too much curling talk. Sorry, we can't have any more curling talk. We had that. That was on
I haven't even gotten started yet.
In the Facebook group. No, sorry, no more curling talk.
I'm just supposed to talk about how bad the Cubs are going to suck. Are we ready for baseball?
I don't give a shit.
Cardinals are playing the Sox 4 times.
Yay!
It's going to be awesome. You're going to watch baseball.
I don't really care about sports anymore.
You're going to watch baseball. It's going to be great. You're going to love it.
Probably not.
All right. Okay. Well, once again, if you want to contact the show and suggest some things to us, if you want to talk about our opinions and how much you disagree with them, you can do so by emailing us at info@aroundcomics.com. We're on the Facebooks. We're on the Twitters and the TikToks. You can find us on Periscopes. We're everywhere.
Please subscribe below if you haven't already, and hit the little bell there so you get notifications when we're going to have new episodes. That helps us out a lot if you can do that. And yeah, like you said, you can always send us emails, that kind of thing.
Yep. Let us enter our contest on how we should give away Sal's copy of V for Vendetta Absolute Edition.
Yeah, tell us how we should run a contest.
Yes.
That's the contest. The first contest
is tell us how to run a contest.
Tell us how to run a contest, because we don't really want to run a contest. But I will give that away for sure. I'll send it to somebody. I have no.
Oh, I got piles. I got 3 long boxes in my basement of stuff I'm ready to mail out to people.
I do have I gave away so much stuff, but I do still have like a plastic tub of hardcovers in my garage that I have no room for, and it's like stuff I don't want. So I'll be happy to give that stuff. So yeah, we need contests.
I got trades all over the place.
Oh, also, I wanted to say, the shop is still open. We can put that up there. You're wearing the shirt now. There you aroundcomics.com/shop. I did get somebody contacted us on Instagram. I think they sent me an Instagram story. They got their new shirt in, the sort of ECDC logo round logo shirt design. So that's up there. I want to get one of those actually. And there's all sorts of stuff up there. So aroundcomics.com/shop, you can support the show there. We don't have a Patreon because we don't want to produce more material for you.
No. There. Maybe like buy a shirt or a coffee cup and take a picture of yourself and send it in, and we'll that's how we'll figure out who to send stuff to.
I got a coffee cup here.
I got old school, which this isn't available. We should make the old school cup available because it's cool.
I can make it again. I mean, I have the logos.
Yeah.
Retro.
The retro AC.
The early 2000 retro.
God, we're old. All right. I got to get one of the new ones. All right, Sal. Well, fun as always. Good stuff. Remember to check out the Old Guard. We'll be talking about that here in the next couple weeks before it launches on the old Netflix, and all sorts of other stuff coming out in the meantime.
In between time.
We'll be everywhere.
Comics.